Welcome back to Stu's Structures. I am Mark Stewart and we're here to continue on with building Sparky's house, so stay tuned. So welcome back. Like I said, I appreciate you coming back and sharing this time with me. So we are back to working on Sparky's house. Last week I hadn't accomplished a whole lot, so I kind of put an extra video up there, but now we're going to continue on. I did a few things this last week, but it just wasn't enough to put a video up, so we're going to continue on, and there's a bunch of things that have to be done on this house. The basic bulk of the structure is pretty much done, but there's tons of trim. There's the shingles to do. There's still the decks to do. We need to get into this because there's just so much to do. So let's jump into this. The first thing we're going to work on is just more underneath of these eaves that stick out on the end. Remember, I had to add pieces to the walls, and there's some awkward areas up in there that we need to cover up. So what I'm going to do first, we'll take a look at the end, and you can see the open areas and the rough areas that we need to hide. But basically I have this cardboard sticking out from the roof, and I'm just going to come back and add wood underneath all these eaves to cover up these. And you can see these open triangles on the lower ends here we got to deal with. So I just cut a whole bunch of this strips that's a real thick basswood, and I'm just going to use these to come back and one by one just put them into place and mark them and cut them, and then glue those underneath where that eave sticks out on the end. And you can see this still doesn't hide all the imperfections at this point, but we get another trim piece underneath of this, so that should be okay when it's said and done. Now, to put the trim piece under these, I have to take this chisel bit and just chisel off a little bit of these ribs where they come up on this siding. And I just I'm using 1x6 trim, and I'm pre-painting it white so I don't have to worry about trimming the paint between it and the gray. And then I just come back and add those into those places as well. Now you see the lower triangles on the wall. I still have to deal with those, but basically the trim covers all those imperfections underneath the roof eaves where the way I wanted them to. Now these open triangles is the next area that I want to deal with. And basically I just have to come back with the right thickness of basswoods and just cut triangles to glue in those spaces. And I do use some of the vinyl spackle to go in and just hide any open joints and cracks and things like that to give it a better finished look when it's said and done. But just getting these triangles and all this trim on really closes this up. Now this roof here that's next to where I'm adding these dormers onto the roof, I need to go ahead and work on this a little bit, because once I get the dormers on there, it's just going to be tighter to get in there and work. So I go ahead and do a facial trim piece on this, and that this will get a gutter on it as well. And then the dormers, before I mount them, I want to go ahead and just use this clear styrene and cut a couple of pieces and go ahead and get the glass glued in behind the windows in both of the dormers. This is basically the finish of the windows, but I don't want to look in those windows and see that bare cardboard roof and stuff. I want it to look dark inside, so I just cut a couple of these pieces of dark paper and cut a view block to add in behind those windows, and I glue the whole assembly onto the roof, and we have both of the dormers in place. Now I need a ridge line for this roof, and I just took cardboard and put it behind the ends of each of the dormers and marked it and cut it to size. I found the piece of square stock that I wanted to use for the ridge pole, and I cut a piece of that to mount on the bottom of this cardboard as well, to glue it into place on either sides of the dormers on the rear end. And then with that groove cut, I have somewhere to go ahead and cut my ridge pole. And most everything as I work on pieces, I just lay it into place. I don't try and measure every single thing I do. So on these ridge poles, to begin with, I'm just trying to get the right angle on the back sides where the ridge pole will meet the roof. And then once I get that right, I just lay it into place and mark the length to where it's going to meet that wall out there, and put a little bit of glue on it. Once I test fit and cut it and test fit it and cut fit it several times, it's just a process I go through. I could be more definitive with my measuring and everything, but once this is done and once this is into place and hardened off the glue, then I have something to work for to start putting my roof in place, up here on top. And I can get to start working the roofs on these dormers as well. And you can see the space in between the dormer and that other roof I was talking about. So, it is a tight little area to get in there and work, but we got to do shingles in there and several things. So, just getting as much of that done before you get areas like this glued in place is good. And now, I'd mentioned coming back and just using this vinyl spackling to fill in joints around trim and stuff like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and work the trim on around some of the building. I have a bunch of this 1x6 painted, so I'm coming underneath the roof edges and these sheets where the siding meets on the addition in the back. All the roof lines, get it all the way around. On this back there's a couple of different pieces besides the pieces underneath the eaves. And here you can see I still don't have the spackle in the joints yet, so some of that shows. I've got to come back and fill that and fill those lower corners up with spackle as well and make sure they look right when it's all said and done. But basically just getting a bunch of this first story and second story trim where the roof lines meet the siding in place, and I can glue and deal with them a little bit more later on, but that gets a lot of this trim out of the way. It really does tidy up the look quite a bit too by getting a lot of this trim on there. Now the other thing all these roof lines are going to need are gutters, and I don't have any pre-made gutters for these, so I'm just going to make gutter out of this long strip styrene. And it's like everything else, I just lay it into place and cut the lengths to size to fit what I need. And on the gutters I'm going to need 3 of those lengths to make up a gutter. And what I do is just lay one piece at a 90 degree next to a ruler like this, put the other piece up against it, line the ends of it up, and just put some glue in place to get it to do. And then I have an L channel. And then once I add this other side on, just with the same manner, then I end up with a U channel, or the basic shape of the gutter system. And once this sets up a little bit, I do come back and add a little more glue into it, but I'm just trying to get it to set up right now. And then I just cut these 2 little tiny square pieces that set down in and form the enclosed ends on them, and glue those into place as well. And that's basically the gutter, and every one you can do and have to make, you just make it to size for each individual gutter. And once it sets up, then it's still got a little rough edges and stuff where they all came together. So I just come back and make sure I trim everything so all the ends are nice and flush. The little tabs on the end don't stick up any higher than what the gutter is. And that's just the way I'm going to make all these gutters. And I go ahead and just start assembling a whole bunch of these gutter systems. So there you have another segment of Stu's Structures. The house is coming along really well now. Still another week of not getting as much done as what I would have liked to have on this structure. At least I'm getting something out there. I hope you appreciate that. I'm really struggling to find time with all the stuff in my personal life. I just have so many projects going on that I can't keep up with everything in my personal life, so it takes me away from doing this kind of thing. But basically winter is here, all the leaves are down, and I'm not ready with my nursery for winter. I'm just not. And I had ordered chickens, and I'm trying to build a mobile chicken coop right now, and there's plants. I need to get some strawberries in the ground and coverings over those, and it's really the hoops and stuff that I'm bending and making coverings for that are taking the time. But there's just so many projects. I'm afraid to get a manila sheet of legal paper and write them all down. It would take a few pages probably with all the projects that I have going on, and I'm not sure I want to know how long that list really is, so I haven't written them down. I just kind of commit it all to memory and move on, just from one thing to another to another to another, and it's a long process. So all that said, I just don't have the time to work on this building, like I said. So anyway, I do appreciate you coming back and sharing this time with me. It's winter time. Drag out some materials and scratch build some structures. Even if it's something simple, there's no reason to be intimidated by any of these processes or doing any of these things. And the satisfaction that you get from building something for yourself and having it on your model layout really is immense. I mean, it really is. It just, it's a very self-satisfying thing to go through and do, and to have an end result that you're proud of to have on your model railroad. And there's most of the things that I'm building are not things you can find in kit form. So if you're wanting these types of structures, you've got to make them yourself. There's no way around it. I mean, you could pay the absorbent amounts that some kit company would charge you to make a kit for you, I guess. I just don't have tons of money to spend in the hobby. I just never have. I try to do things as inexpensively as possible. So therefore, I build structures. The reason I'm building this one for Sparky is because he's done a lot to help me over the last few years since I'd started my channel a couple years ago. And I wanted to do something for him. So this is my way of showing my gratitude for the things he did for me. So in any case, like I said earlier, thanks for coming back and sharing this time with me. Drag some stuff out, play with your trains, enjoy the down winter time of not having to mow grass, being able to put grass in your scenery on your model layout, and just have fun with it. It's all about happy model railroading.